Hi everyone, and welcome back to Financial Basics, where we make money grow with you. Today we want to be talking about what to do with extra money if you have a mortgage and you're looking at investing more into your portfolio, right? So it's deciding whether you want to pay down your mortgage or invest it in your portfolio. So we just want to look at defining what the problem is, what the experts actually say about this. We want to look at 3 different scenarios for this, whether you want to pay down your mortgage early or invest more. We want to actually look at the maths, how to go about solving this problem, what the results of those calculations actually are, putting it all into a spreadsheet, looking at the formulas, and then looking at some graphs and actually going about building that calculator. And then we also just want to summarize. So defining the problem fundamentally is, how do I best allocate additional funds between my mortgage and my portfolio? And the instinctive answer is more money is better, right? So at the core, investing, maximizing your net worth is always going to be the better solution. Whether you invest until you have enough in your retirement, then put everything into the mortgage, or pay off the mortgage early and then put everything into retirement, both of these have benefits and disadvantages. But what I wanted to do today was just try and look at a solution that could be more custom and more specific to an individual's requirements and needs. So what the experts say, so Dave Ramsey says, no, debt is bad. There is risk associated with that debt that is not taken into consideration. So step 4 is invest 15%, maximum 15% of your household income into retirement, and then everything else should go towards paying off your home as soon as possible. Ramit Sethi says, if the interest rate on your mortgage is above 6% and you think with absolute confidence you should be able to get 6% return every year on your retirement funds, leave your mortgage alone, don't pay it down unless that interest rate is either 6% or higher, especially if the math clearly shows that you can get a good return on your investment in the market, more than 6%. The Money Guy takes a slightly different approach. They're looking at the time period between your age and when you actually want to retire, so 65 or whatever the number is. And they're basically saying the time in that market is really worth a lot when you're young. So you don't want to be paying down the mortgage if you can invest that money and leave it in the market for 30, 40 years, or 25, whatever years, where it's really getting an opportunity to compound and grow. So their argument is, if you're under 45, rather leave the mortgage, keep investing. And as you get close to that 45 age or over that 45 age, you want to start paying down the mortgage at that point so that you can be debt free when you go into your retirement. Caleb Hammer says paying off your home early is just stupid. He's very comfortable with debt, especially if you're managing it properly. So his perspective is, if I can get a better return on the market, why would I ever pay down that mortgage? So there's 3 scenarios to this calculation. And the first scenario is you take a long time to reach your portfolio goal and you pay your mortgage off as soon as possible. The alternative to that, you invest as much as possible to hit your portfolio goal or your retirement goal, and then you start paying down the mortgage at that point, or you try and make these 2 values equal to each other. So if you break that down and just sort of thinking it through, you've got a payment for your shares, P shares. You've got a payment for your mortgage, P mort. And you want to pay down your mortgage as quickly as possible. But then from that point onwards, you're taking your mortgage payment and you're putting it towards your shares. and your portfolio, right? So this is Dave Ramsey's approach. Your mortgage as quickly as possible, it's earlier, and then you're going to take a little bit longer to reach your retirement goal. But the flip side of that is also 100% true, right? You could overpay on your portfolio, hit your financial goal, pause your investing on your portfolio, and go hard on your mortgage, right? So at that point, you could go, okay, I've reached my financial goal for my retirement. That's okay now. I can put everything I have into the mortgage. You can also attempt in advance, if you want to be a little bit more strategic and careful with your planning, you can also make your mortgage payment and your shares payment in such a way that you balance those two and attempt to find the point where those two are equal to each other and as early as possible. So the other thing I just wanted to note as well is all of the solutions that we've just talked about mostly aim for net worth. I would say Dave Ramsey is the exception there, where Dave Ramsey is looking at risk as well and just going, get rid of the mortgage simply because it's a risk that you might not want to deal with from a financial perspective. But actually doing the maths, you only need 7 numbers, right? 7 numbers to calculate exactly and precisely these values for each individual. So what you need is, how much money do you have available right now in this moment? What is your retirement goal? If you don't have a retirement goal, you can't really calculate this. You end up back in the loop of net worth calculations. What is the current value of your portfolio? What is the expected return rate on your portfolio? So you can combine all of your portfolio together. What is my expected return? If I've got crypto in there, include that risk, right? Include that growth rate. If I've got Tesla stock, if I've got S&P 500, whatever it is, whatever your investments are, you're working out your return based on that. And that includes your private retirement accounts, that's your work pensions, whatever the case may be, whatever investments that you have, you can work out your return rate across all of those. You can estimate that, right? And assume this is what I think I'm going to get. The current value of your mortgage, the remaining term on your mortgage, and then the interest rate associated with that mortgage. So with these numbers, and you can now start attacking this problem. And there's 2 formulas that you want to use. You want to use the MPER formula, which is your number of periods or your time formula. And you can basically use this to calculate the time it's going to take to hit a specific financial goal. Or the other formula that you're talking about is just the future value formula, which is calculating either the value of an investment or a loan at a specific date in the future. And with these 2 formulas and those data points, you can actually solve this, not for the net worth solution, but for the shortest time solution. And the output of these formula and calculations is your monthly mortgage payment, which is what the bank will calculate, but it uses these values. The extra funds towards your mortgage, because whatever you put, you take your available funds, you subtract what you're putting towards your shares, and what's left over is going to go to your mortgage. The time periods for clearing your mortgage or reaching your investment goal, and then the timelines for reaching both goals. And all of these calculations together, once integrated, you can actually map these out as data points, and you can create 2 graphs that intersect with each other. And where they intersect, that is the point where you reach both goals with the shortest possible time. Again, I need to emphasize, net worth be damned if it means you're chasing FIRE or financial independence, retire early, and you have a specific goal in mind for your retirement pot, and you want to have a free mortgage property that you live in when you go into retirement. So there could be costs involved here in terms of missed opportunity in the market. And that's what I need to emphasize, is that it's not the solution that maximizes your net worth. But the assumption that all of the experts make is you almost have a level of liquidity between these two assets. And I've assumed that is not the case. So you can't downscale your house or sell your house and use that money to hit your retirement goal. And the reverse is also true. You can't overinvest in your retirement, take the money out of your retirement and clear your mortgage, because there might be tax implications or something along those lines for that scenario. So both of these parts, whether it's the mortgage or retirement, are to a large extent locked away, and they don't really interact with each other. You might end up with a very high net worth if you look at some of these solutions, but that money might be tied away in things that you can't immediately access to be debt free on your mortgage. Or the other way around, you might not be able to downscale your house, or you might not want to downscale your house if it means you will hit your retirement goal. So you could end up working for longer trying to hit your retirement goal, while actually you have the value, it's just tied up in your house. So how to solve this problem, right? So you can look at the current date, you look at how much free cash you have this month or this period, the current value of your portfolio, the growth rate, your retirement goal, your mortgage value, your current remaining term on your mortgage, the interest rate, the additional contribution to your retirement, your monthly payment to your mortgage, and your extra payment to the mortgage, which is the 5,000 minus the 2,626, which leaves you with the 2,373 going to your mortgage, right? So it's just balancing those. And then you're solving for your your number of payments or number of periods to hit those goals, whether it's your portfolio or your mortgage. And then you're taking the earlier of those two dates, and then you're comparing, and then you're working out the future value at that point, and you're adding that additional time, you're combining all of that, and you're converting that into a future date as the 28th of October 2030 for this particular scenario. So here's the formulas for that spreadsheet, for those calculations. It's worth noting for B12, I'm including an if error statement in there, and the reason for that is because if your portfolio is 0 and you put nothing into it in 6 years time, in this situation 6.08 years, when you've cleared your mortgage, the value of if you put nothing in, then you end up with infinity values. And I've just replaced that with a really big number instead of infinity, because Google Sheets doesn't like infinities. And then you can see the converting it into the future date by multiplying by 365 days and adding it to today's date. So these data points actually generate a graph. This is what that graph looks like. And it looks a little bit weird. You can see the one graph curling up over here on this side, from 0 through to the ideal number, 4,571.35, 27th of July 2039. And then you have this one data point, 5,000 off on its own on the 28th of June 2040, right? And you're solving for the lowest possible date. So the ideal year is that 27th of July. But this is a graph with 11 data points. So if you include the 0 and the 5,000, you've got 11 data points. If you include the ideal solution, you've got 12. But you can also do this graph with 1,000 data points, just to demonstrate what the graphs look like and their intersecting points. And that's what you end up with. So if you remove all of the labels for the exact same calculations, and you're just putting in 1,000 data points instead of just the 10 or the 11, you end up with a graph like this, which clearly demonstrates what the two graphs are and where they intersect. And I would say the interesting thing here, or the thing worth noting here, is it's bounded from on the high level by the 5,000, because that's your available funds, and the low level obviously by 0. And this is what you put into your portfolio, so the rest of it gets put into your mortgage. And then obviously it's bounded on the lower end by the earliest possible date in terms of the allocation, and on the high end by the latest possible date with the worst allocation. It's also interesting to note that there are multiple points along this graph that will get you the same end date. So here's just one example. Even though the ideal solution is 4571.35, there are also multiple points along the graph where two solutions do work. So yeah, whether you put in 4,650 or whether you put in 3,790 into shares and the rest into the mortgage, both of those solutions actually generate the 29th of September 2039. So I just wanted to run through a couple of scenarios. So here's a person, they've got 500 free there, and then it's automatically calculating how much you need to put towards your investments. In this particular situation, 488.73. So the current value of their portfolio is 150,000. They're estimating it's going to grow at 8.5%. They're aiming for 1.2 million. Their current mortgage is 250,000, 5% growth rate, 21 years into the future. And that generates a ideal date of the 22nd of June 2045. It also gives you the difference in time in months between the earliest date that you could with the perfect allocation, the one that he's on right now, or the worst allocation. And the difference in that time period is only 9 months. So even though we do agonize over this question quite a lot, because it's something that comes up a lot in the FIRE communities, comes up a lot in the conversations, I've got this extra money, what do I do with it? The reality is, even if you completely screw up the allocation, you might only be 9 months behind the ideal. So this is the outputs of that calculation, just showing those dates, showing different allocations to the portfolio, and the extra the extra contribution to the mortgage, and what date each of those data points generate. And there it is on the graph. Again, obviously just showing the 488.73 as the ideal ratio, and you can just see where those two graphs intersect and point towards each other. So just playing around, second scenario, yeah, he has 5,000 available in funds. So with 5,000 available now, he has a different ideal ratio, and that's why the calculator is so valuable here, is because it's going to take your current situation and adapt accordingly, right? So each time that you want to allocate funds, because 1 month it's going to be 500, the next month it could be 5,000, the next month it could be 1,000. That number is going to vary. How much you have in your portfolio, what the market is doing is going to play a big part in that. How close you are to your retirement goal is going to play a big part in that. So you're going to get large swings in your portfolio value. And then you're paying down your mortgage as well. You're putting extra towards your mortgage, just depending on what the calculator generated on the last time you used it. Or if you've just been paying down your mortgage in general, you're like, yeah, I'm going to just split it in half and put 50% towards the mortgage and 50% towards the shares for whatever funds I have available. it's still going to take all of that into consideration, and it's just going to go, but this is the earliest possible date that you'll hit both those goals. You can see for this situation, the time difference between the longest and the earliest, so the worst allocation and the best allocation, is still only 14 months. And there's the dates in the table for those values, and there's your graph. So for this month, 4,064.99 is the ideal solution. And you can see there the graph showing the 5,000 and the 4,500 intersecting with the other graph. So here's a person that has 500. They've got 150,000 in the portfolio, 8.5% growth rate, 1.2 million goal. It's telling them 48.73 into their shares, the rest into the mortgage. Their current mortgage value is 250,000, interest rate 5%, 21 years, right? So it's saying, okay, by the 22nd of June 2045, if you kept doing that every month, then that's the earliest possible date. And the difference between allocation and the worst and best scenario is only 9 months. But let's say they did that, and the following month they had this situation. So a couple of things have changed here. They've paid 2,000 down on the mortgage. Somebody, I know, their mom is helping them with the mortgage and put something towards that. They got it down to 248,000. But the stock market has gone a little bit crazy. The stock market has gone to 300,000, and they got a bonus for whatever reason as well. They now have 5,000 available to allocate towards the different, either the mortgage or the portfolio. And what the calculator does is it goes, I don't care what happened in the past. I don't care what happened last month. Now, with that 5,000 available, you need to allocate 3,675.29 towards your shares and the rest towards your mortgage. So it's taken everything into consideration. It's giving you the best possible allocation for the current scenario, for the current situation. And the time difference there between the longest and earliest, and you can see what impact it has with 5,000 now instead of 500, and a much closer to your retirement goal. Your best allocation and your worst allocation now becomes 16 months, because the more money you have, the more impact it's going to have on that variable. And then the following month, the portfolio has flatlined. It's the same guy. He's only got 1,000 this month available, but his portfolio is flatlined at 300,000. The market went crazy last month, so that's fine. The mortgage payment, the mortgage is now 247,000, but obviously there's only 20.833 years left on that. Still got 5% interest rate. So it's recalculating everything. And then the thing to note here is, let's say last month something happened and he realized he's actually going to need a little bit more in retirement than what he originally thought. So instead of the 1.2, he's now aiming for 1.3. So the calculator is still going to attempt to find the earliest possible date and the allocation associated with that date for being able to figure out how much do I need to put into the mortgage or how much do I need to put into shares. So here with the 1,000, it's come up with the answer of 639 as the ideal into the shares and the rest into the mortgage, with the time difference between the mortgage and the shares being 35 months now, because of that retirement goal now increasing again. So I understand that making this decision can be very emotional, and I hope this video has actually helped you calm down about it in terms of the impact that this decision has on your life in the long run. As long as you are using the funds in a good way, whether you follow Dave Ramsey or whether you follow someone like Ramit that says, don't worry about the mortgage as long as it's a decent interest rate. As long as you're doing something with your money that's useful and beneficial, and you're either investing it or you're paying down the mortgage, and you're getting that return on those funds, on that money, you're probably going to be all right in the long run. And I hope this video shows you that the ultimate impact in terms of a timeline is not that great. I understand that peace of mind plays a big part in this, and it's more a psychological thing for a lot of people, like paying down the mortgage, being able to sleep well at night without worrying about a monthly payment. That just has a huge psychological impact. And I would say it is easy to criticize this approach by simply arguing that not aiming for maximizing net worth and returns is probably a bad way to approach this calculation. My counter to that would be, it is the best way to counter that, to calculate it, because you know what your goals are. If you know what your goals are, then I can calculate it for you specifically. And if you think your approach works better than this, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to get feedback on this as well. Obviously, this calculator is my first attempt at a calculator like this. So please let me know in the comments or email me directly if you think you have an approach that might be better than this. My email address is right there. If you like this content, please support my channel by liking, subscribing, or sharing it. If there's anything I missed or you would like us to cover, please comment below or just email me. And if you want to discuss any specific financial situations or questions that you have on our channel, please also let me know at that email address and I'll get in touch with you. Thank you very much for your time today. Have a great one. Until the next time. Bye. I have also included a calculator, the link to the calculator below in the description for this video. Hopefully you can use it. It would be great to get some feedback, as I'm still testing and still trying to figure out exactly all of the different use cases or edge cases. Thank you very much. Bye.